Hello, and welcome to another episode of Some of Our Parts, the podcast where two friends talk about the movies that add up to make us who we are. I'm Lindsay,
And I'm Jim.
and this week it is my pick. First of all, I would just say as a disclaimer, I am in the throes of COVID right now, so if I sound off, that's why. I'm sick, to quote the movie we're talking about today.
Mm-hmm. So, Lindsay, what did you pick for us this week?
I delved back into my youth. We are keeping with the teenage girl theme of my past few picks, and we are going to, I think, one of the most like iconic films of the 2000s, one of the most quotable movies of recent decades, I think, Mean Girls.
Ooh, classic from the early 2000s. 2004, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So I take it
Yes.
you saw this movie in the theaters?
Yes. Yes. I remember it vividly. I was in eighth grade. It came out in April 2004. So that was like the end of my eighth grade year. So I was 13, almost 14 at the time. And at this time in our lives, my friends and I spent a lot of time at the mall. So we
Oh,
would go to the movies or just walk around the mall, Arundel Mills Mall. Shout out to them. Although I did read recently actually that Arundel Mills Mall now, like, there's a curfew for kids. Like, kids can't go there at like unaccompanied, like after like 3 p.m. on Fridays and Saturdays, which is like, wow, what would I have done
I
at
was
this
going
time in my life?
I was going to ask you, would that have impacted your mauling? Your
Our parents would just drop us off and we would just walk around, like just
well,
walking.
and if I'm not, I think I've been to that movie theater. Is that the one where it's the Egyptian themed movie theater?
Yes.
Yes. So I've
Yes.
seen most of the Harry Potter movies there. I'm
So did I.
we probably saw them at the same time. So
Probably. So yeah, that was like my local mall and movie
oh, okay.
theater. That was at the time the Movie Co. Egyptian 24. Now it's like a Cinemark or something, but
Oh,
that was where we spent a lot of our time. I can picture it, like the layout looked a little bit different. There used to be, back then it was just like one big long counter
I
that
remember
you
that.
walked
Yeah.
into. And
Exactly.
I remember like we walked in and we went to like one towards the end, and it was just sort of like weird, like nerdy guy, and we were ordering our refreshments, and he was like, "Oh, are you guys here to see Mean Girls?" And we were like, "Yeah, like why? How did you know that?" And he was like, "Well, a movie about teen girls just came out, and you guys are a bunch of teen girls, so you seem like the demographic to be seeing it." And we were like, "Okay," but he was correct. So we went to see it, and then we were like, "Oh, this is life now." I remember like after we saw it, we were like, "Okay, we have to write down all those rules, and we're gonna do that at
So
school."
so you decided you were going to be the plastics then, if that's
I guess, even though like
okay.
we didn't like occupy any kind of space at our school like that, but we were like, we're just gonna, our section of the lunch table is gonna be governed by these rules.
Okay.
Which like, I mean, it didn't ever actually happen.
Oh, so
Um,
you didn't wear pink on certain days, and you didn't wear.
I think we might have maybe tried for like the first week. Like
Okay.
on Wednesdays we were pink, but like the rules of like you can't wear your hair in a ponytail, like that's all I did at the time. Or like you can't wear jeans more than once a week and like that kind of stuff. You can only wear jeans or sweatpants on Fridays. That was like, well, what else am I gonna wear?
Oh, okay. So you didn't have, well, as we're getting a little, so you didn't have all the snazzy outfits, because I thought to myself, as the movie progressed, I could see the other characters, but Caddy, I thought I wrote down, where did she get all these clothes?
Yeah, her parents must have taken her shopping. But also, when I watch this, I'm like, this school doesn't have a dress code
Well, yeah, because I was
because
going to ask you, is
that
was
would
that
not.
it was some of the outfits were kind of, of course it's a movie, so but
Yeah, like I mean, we weren't allowed to wear like spaghetti straps, right? Like, you know,
oh yeah.
they're wearing like their bellies are out, the
Oh,
skirts are short.
there were a lot of midriff showing.
Yes, that
Yeah.
was not allowed.
Well, it wasn't until my junior year of high school, 1973, that our school allowed girls to wear pants.
Yeah, so it definitely wouldn't have flown at your school.
not jeans, pants. So it was, it was like, they had to wear dresses or skirts up until my 10th grade.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah, I did write down watching it again, like,
yeah.
does this school have a dress code?
So I'm guessing that you all didn't go to those extremes as far as uh not you personally, but some people in your school didn't come to school
No.
dressed
Whenever
like
I watch movies and people wear like heels at high school, I'm like,
that's not a thing. That wasn't a
that just
thing.
didn't happen.
Yeah.
I struggle, maybe like one or two girls like it once in a blue moon, but I just like don't recall that being like a thing that
Right.
people wore heels to school. I was like, you should like walk around a lot and like no one cares. There were things about this movie that felt very relatable
Hmm.
in terms of like, I think trying to fit in and like having crushes and like navigating like friendship and like all this kind of stuff. And school generally, like where people fit in and like teachers and like I think the idea of like the coach being the health teacher, like that my health teacher in high school was the golf coach and also my weight training teacher. And he was like, he didn't say things like that, but like that was his vibe. Like just like
Oh.
sort of like loud and just like proclamations.
Hmm.
He always like my health teacher called people dingbats all the time. He's like, you dingbats. So like that. And like also like my dad is a high school football coach. And when I was a kid, he taught health at the high
Oh,
school where he worked. So like
yeah. I was
the
good.
idea of like the coach as the health teacher is very like feels very real to me.
And it was like at our high school, even back in the 70s. It was, it was the one of the sports coaches, either the basketball coach or the football coach, would be the gym teacher who would also teach health.
Yes, a sort of like gruff masculine man like yelling at you about sex and drugs. I think like some of that stuff feels very realistic to like high
Hmm.
school.
Yeah.
But I mean, some of it is just like this is not relatable at all.
But
This is absurd. But I
I
think it
guess it
is.
made enough impression on you that you said, "Oh, we're going to adopt the rules, and we're going to,
Yeah, we were well because we thought it was like fun and funny. I
yeah."
think we would never want to be like Regina George, right? Like that's the idea that you don't want to be like she gets hit by a bus for a reason.
Oh, spoiler alert!
Spoiler.
Yes. Sorry if anybody hadn't seen the movie.
Right. If you live
With
under a rock and haven't seen Mean Girls. Well, Jim, it makes sense that you didn't see Mean Girls.
I was just so in 2004. You were how old? You were 13 going on 14.
Yes.
Yeah, I was 47 going on 48.
So
It
see,
was
if you showed up on that Friday, that would have been weird.
well, probably somebody would have called the police. So if I'd have showed up by myself without either a
Sir,
teenage daughter in tow, right?
sir, what movie are you here to see?
Oh, and my question was, did you see it more than once at the movie theaters, or was this one of those? Because there are movies that I've seen more than one time at the movie theater. So, but I didn't know if this was one of those for you.
I don't think so. I think at
Oh,
that time
okay,
I didn't see movies more than
more
once
than
just because
once.
like my parents had to pay for it and they had to drive me.
Well,
Um
yeah, okay,
but no, I don't think but like it's one that as soon as it came out, I had the DVD. I watched it. When I rewatched it, I watched it on DVD. And like, it's one of those that we would watch
yeah, all the time.
together over and over and over. And like
Okay,
it comes on TV. I think when I looked it up, it's like coming on E in the next like week.
is it really? Because
Yeah.
this is one of the ones I think maybe for a while it came out a lot, and then it sort of like most movies, they disappear for a
Hmm.
while, and then they cycle back up again. So
Yeah. Yeah. This
bad movies.
movie is like culturally impactful.
Well, I think everybody, if like I hadn't seen it, but I knew of it. I mean,
Hmm.
that, and like you said, it's quotable.
Right.
There's
I was
people
going to
that
say, I don't think that, like, if you're a person who has been alive in the past 20 years, you have not heard at least one quote from this movie.
from yeah, or even just the movie Mean Girls. It's
Yeah.
just it's
You know lines from this movie. Like, if
it,
you have existed in the world and, like, watched TV at all, like,
right.
commercials, songs, like,
Oh yeah. Um,
It's kind of permeates. Like, I was reading on the Wikipedia page, like, the cultural impact, and it's like the Twitter account of the Nation of Israel tweeted, "Why are you so obsessed with me?" at like whatever Hezbollah or whatever. Like, it's like,
really?
yeah, it wasn't like a Hezbollah. Maybe it was in Iran, but
Oh,
like
oh, okay, yeah.
literally though. And then like Hillary Clinton tweeting this at Donald Trump, and like it the fact that like lines from this movie are at that like that level of like
Mhm.
cultural permeating the culture at that level is like kind of bananas. And also I'm like, maybe like Nation of Israel, I don't know if you need to be like tweeting Mean Girls quotes, but okay.
Hey,
um
I don't know, I kinda like that, you know, not the fact that, you know, the fact that they're, quoting, from a 20s, early 2000 movies. I think
yeah,
that's kinda
I, as an experiment before I started the movie, I was like, I'm gonna see like list all the like lines and quotes that
Oh,
like
okay.
come up for me, things
Mhm.
that I use or things that like exist in my brain. And I wrote down just like rapid fire 27.
And were you spot on as far as pretty much the
Oh yeah, yeah,
direct
yeah.
quote? Oh, okay, okay,
Yeah,
good. Okay. Well,
for sure.
I didn't doubt. So,
Yeah, but just like the ones that I'm like, these are things that like I think of, I say, like exist at the top of my mind. For example, and I just told you this, but a few days ago, I was at the Colosseum in Rome with my family, and we're on a tour through like the Roman Forum and the Colosseum, and our tour guide is talking about kind of the history of Rome and the various leaders, and when they went from a republic to an empire, and that kind of started with the murder of Julius Caesar. And she said, "Do you all know how Caesar was killed?" And me and my stepdad were one of the only two people who said like, "Oh, he was stabbed." And in my head, I'm like, "You guys don't know? We should all just totally just stab Caesar. Like that isn't in your brain. Like Gretchen Wiener's talking about Brutus and Caesar, like isn't
Mhm.
at top of mind for you." But you know what? It comes in handy. Historical facts.
Well, but it would have been a great lifesaver in Jeopardy if you know if it was the
Exactly.
yeah, either a final Jeopardy or a Jeopardy question. So, well, do you want to start with the recap then, and sort of guide us through the opening of the film?
Yeah, no, we can jump right in.
Yeah.
So
So,
this movie, the main character is a girl named Katie Heron, but it's spelled Caddy. It's spelled Cady, and everybody says it wrong, which I also think it's like a very like high school thing, right? Like somebody always has a name that like people say wrong and they have to correct people, or like it's spelled wrong, spelled weird, or like whatever. So Katie has been living with her parents in Africa. Katie is played by Lindsay Lohan, sorry. She has been living with her parents in Africa. They're like zoologists, and she's just moved to, they live in Evanston, Illinois. Her parents are going to work at Northwestern. So she's in the Chicago suburbs, which is a big difference from wherever she was in Africa. And she'd been homeschooled up until this point. I do love this part when she talks about weirdos being homeschooled. And how she's like, no, I'm not like, that people think you're either like a hyper religious weirdo or which one of the best lines. And on the third day, God created the Remington bolt action rifle to so man could fight the dinosaurs and the homosexuals.
and I wrote down, please tell me these boys are from West Virginia. Please tell me that was from the Appalachian Mountains somewhere, because that's pretty much stereotypical portrayal of
Yeah, yeah. That's another thing that sticks in my
my
head.
people.
The way that kid says the homosexuals. But yeah, so she's, I'm not a weirdo. Although I do love the opening scene, sort of the framing, because it has her parents like looking down, like, do you know
Hmm.
your phone number? Like, here's your lunch, don't get lost. And you think they're talking to a little kid, and then it kind of pans up as she stands up, and it's like, no, it's a 16-year-old girl. She's just going to school for the first time. So
Right.
naturally it's difficult, right? Like it's not an easy adjustment. Uh, she sort of walks into her first class. She can't really find a place to sit. This is when we first meet Janice and Damien, and they're like kind of helping, but also like kind of laughing at her. She runs into the teacher who's Tina Fey, makes her spill her coffee. Then she's trying to take off her sweater, and her shirt comes up with it. And then the principal comes in, and he's like, "Oh, here's our new student from Africa," and points to this like random black girl, and she's like, "I'm from Michigan." So it's just like in the first like moments of her being in school, it's just like turmoil.
And he mispronounces her name too,
He
doesn't
calls
he?
her Caddy, and she said,
Yeah.
"Oh no, it's like Katie."
Which reminds me of the uh, uh, Key and Peele
Oh
skit
yes,
where where the teacher,
A Ron,
Ron,
Block A.
where
You done messed up, A Ron. Yes, D nice, classic. So she doesn't have a great first day. She eats her lunch in the bathroom
oh, I know.
because she doesn't have anywhere to sit, which sucks and also is gross. It's also funny too that like her adjustment, there's like all these rules in school that I think are normal if you've like been in school for a while, but she takes for granted like you can't just like leave and go to the bathroom.
Or you can't take food into the classroom. I would think, but I guess being homeschooled, oh, you could eat
You
whenever.
eat
But
wherever, yeah.
yeah,
But
so
she's
but
just like getting up to leave, and the teacher's like, "Where are you going?"
yeah.
"Well, you need a pass." "Okay, can I have the pass?" "Haha, nice try." And she's like, what?" It would be funny, like if you didn't ever have to do that. Like it is something that is sort of the like social conditioning of like being in like K through 12 that I guess we take for granted that like
Yeah,
someone
that's a
who's
good
homeschooled
point.
might not know. Especially if you're homeschooled, like, she's homeschooled like probably by her parents who are like zoologists in Africa. So I imagine it might not have been like the level of structure that we're
More than
used to
likely.
in in a brick and mortar school. And then, when she goes up to the table of black kids in the cafeteria and says Jumbo to them, I was like, now girl, now
What in her
you're in
defense, someone said about something about Africa, and I think she assumed that they were talking about something in Africa. Maybe I just because
I
I
was just like, oh my, now you're in the Chicago suburbs. We're not in Kenya. It's not going well. But the next day, when she goes back to school, Damien and Janice decide to sort of take her under their wing.
was it Janice Ian
Yes.
who was a
Is a
singer?
singer, yeah.
Yeah.
Which I didn't know until after this.
Well, you wouldn't, but because she was a singer from the 70s, I
Yeah.
believe. Yeah.
I guess that was a Tina
Yeah,
Fey.
it could have been a nod to that. I'm
Yeah.
guessing.
But yeah, so they basically take her to ditch class. They tell her they're gonna take her to the back building, and they're like, "Oh, it burned down in 1987." So she's like, "Oh, we're gonna get in trouble," and they're like, "No, don't worry about it." But they kind of give her the rundown, and by extension, give us the rundown of the school. The main people in school being the plastics. Now, meanwhile, she's supposed to be in health class. We get a glimpse of health class. As we mentioned, health class is taught by the gym teacher and a coach, Coach Carr, who is just saying, if you have sex, you'll get chlamydia and die. Don't have sex standing up. Don't have sex, whatever. You're going to get
Yeah,
chlamydia and die.
just don't have sex. Just
Yeah.
abstain.
Now everybody pass this around. Everyone take some rubbers is what he says.
Yeah.
So mixed messages. A really robust learning experience in health class. So she's not missing much. But then we meet the plastics. First is Karen. Karen is played by Amanda Seyfried. Karen is the dumb one. That's basically her vibe. She's blonde. She's stupid. I think like a ball like hits her in the face when she tries to catch it.
Yeah, that's
Gretchen is rich. Her dad invented toaster strudel. That's one of the lines that she says later that I wrote down. I don't think my father, the inventor of toaster strudel, would be happy to hear this. She knows everyone's business. This is another line that I use in reference to myself. That's why her hair's so big, because it's full of secrets.
Okay. I got you. I got you.
So I think that's another like very memorable, iconic line. And then Regine and George is being carried out. The plastics are in gym class outside at this point. She's being carried out by a bunch of men. as if she's like Cleopatra. And they're like, she is evil.
Mhm.
She is the queen bee. She is the star. There's this montage of people talking about all the like crazy rumors about her. She like met John Stamos and he called her pretty. She drives a Lexus.
She
Her
models
hair's
in
insured. She's a car model in Japan.
Japan, yes, yeah,
One time she punched me in the face.
and I loved it.
It was awesome. And then they sort of map out the cafeteria for her too, so she can kind of get the lay of the land when it comes to other groups and cliques. There's like the Asian nerds, the cool Asians, the unfriendly black hotties. There's the girls who eat their feelings and the girls who eat nothing at all. Some of this I'm like, oof. Um, the sexually active band geeks, and then it's like the coolest people you ever know who are Damien and Janice, and the worst people you ever meet who are the plastics.
Plastics.
There's also clearly, as they talk about them, history, specifically between Janice and Regina. And every time Damien tries to explain, Janice is like, oh, stop it. We don't need to talk about it. And we find out later what that is. But
Right.
and then Katie has her kind of first direct interaction with the plastics. When this gross boy Jason comes up and is like making sexual innuendos at her that she does not perceive. This is when he says, has your muffin been buttered? Would you like us to assign someone to butter your muffin for you? And Regina George.
Laughed out loud when because and I said to myself that this, and I wrote down, this is funnier than I thought it would be. So
It is
because
like
I mean
truly,
it was
it's
disgusting,
rapid
but it
fire.
was funny.
It is funny. And I just love Regina George because she's like, I mean, she's mean, but she does like step in. She's like, do you want to have sex with him? She doesn't want to have sex with you, Jason. Go shave your back now.
It's like,
And also because that guy was like getting with Gretchen and is now like hitting on other girls right in front of her. And then again, they talk to her directly. Regina, you get a glimpse of Regina, like how she can be nice, but also like super manipulative. This is when she's like, you're really pretty. And Katie says, thank you. And she says, so you agree? You think you're really pretty? And Katie's like, what? Like,
yeah,
uh, she doesn't know what the right answer is. Which should have been like, yeah,
yeah.
I am. What about it? But that's like, you're not like supposed to say that, I guess. And then, they're like, sit down, sit down. Janice is like, do not sit down with them, come sit down with us. But she sits down. They conference and invite her to sit with them for the rest of the week. This is when they go over the rules. On Wednesdays, we wear pink. You can only wear your hair in a ponytail one time a week. We only wear jeans or sweatpants on Fridays. I forget, whatever. There's a whole list
There
of
was
them.
something, you couldn't wear the same thing in the same week. Is that what it was? Maybe that's what you couldn't wear the same
I think
outfit or the
so.
same article. I can't remember. Oh,
I think there's something
sadly, I
about
didn't write them
repeating.
down.
Yeah, no, at some
Yeah.
point in eighth grade, we did have them written down.
Oh, okay.
But I don't remember all of them. But like on Wednesdays, we were pink is the one that sticks because clearly the next day is Wednesday and she doesn't have anything pink and she has to borrow a pink polo from Damien. Damien, who obviously wears a much larger size than Katie
Hmm.
does. So it is sort of a comical picture, but Janice is actually strangely on board. She's like, yes, sit with them and tell me all the dumb stuff they say. And again, we're getting hints that like there's obviously history here, but she won't say why. So the next day, we also meet another important person, Aaron Samuels. So Katie's in calculus class and she sits behind him and she's like, wow, what a hottie.
Like Thunderbolt is like,
Yes.
yeah, what they call the Thunderbolt.
Yes. It was like a chorus of angels when he turned around. And she goes to lunch with the plastics and Gretchen's like, oh, do you have your eyes on any guys here yet? Mind you, it was only like day 3, but
Hey,
thankfully she did. And she's like, oh yeah, this guy in my calculus class. She's like, oh, a senior. And she says Aaron Samuels. And Gretchen is like, no, no, no. That he used to date Regina. And you cannot date anyone that your friends used to date. That's just like the rules of feminism, is what Gretchen says. So
It,
he's off limits.
is it, by the way? I was never made aware of those.
I mean, I feel like there is a general like rule. I would call it more like girl code than it's not a rule of feminism, but I think there is an understanding. I also think like for me and my friends have such like different taste that like the idea of dating anyone that my friends have dated is like ew to
Oh,
me.
because I will say that with guys, at least when I was in high school and college dating, if someone dumped a girl or they broke up, fair game.
Interesting, interesting. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
and there
think
was
that
there was no hard feelings. It was like, yeah, whatever,
yeah, it never I guess it also like it just never really like came up
Oh, okay, just curious.
as in practice. I think in theory it would be weird
Hmm.
for me, but again, like there has never been anyone that like a friend of mine broke up with that I'm like, wow, I really want to date that person.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, it never happened. Like we all have a very clearly defined lane
oh,
that does
okay.
not cross over. There would be times when we had like crushes on the same person, but none of us like dated them.
Oh, okay. All
And
right.
like that was fine. We would just like gush about
Oh,
it together.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I think generally it would be frowned upon. But
Okay, so that's
but
interesting.
again, I
So,
think in practice it just never was an actual practical concern.
okay, that's
Yeah,
that,
like I truly, if I rack my brain, there is not a single person that any of like my best friends have dated that I'm like,
that
yeah,
you'd be interested in.
no, yeah, not at all.
But if you were, would you date them knowing that they dated one of your best friends?
I think it would be weird
Okay, I was
because I
just
also think
curious.
that we like talk to each other a lot about like I don't think that it's like verboten in like in the Regina George way. I think it would just be strange because like we talk to each other a lot about our
Hmm.
relationship, so it's like I'm going in with like
Yeah.
information.
Okay, I
You
got you.
know,
Yeah.
there's an impression that I have that would be hard to shake, I guess, is
Okay.
what I'm saying. But
All right.
yeah, it has never come up.
Okay.
And I think it would also depend to like I think I have friends that would be more chill about it than others.
Okay. Yeah.
If that makes
So
sense. So
yeah, just curious. Just I just thought I wanted to share what it was like from our standpoint.
yeah. Yeah. But I think it I don't know, maybe it's I don't know what it is, but I think it is the information sharing that
Hmm.
does make it hard.
Hard or weird or
Yeah.
uncomfortable.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Because like I know a lot about like my friends and their relationships and like all this stuff. So it would be strange. You couldn't start over with that person.
Right. Yeah.
Um, but yeah.
Anyway,
Anyways, this is
so
the sort of the anthropological study of like teenage girls.
yeah.
And that's sort of how Katie is looking at it too, right? Like
What? Yeah, I
she
like how
approaches
they.
everything like she's comfortable with the animal world.
Hmm.
So we get to see glimpses of that. Like for example, next they go to the mall.
The segue, yeah, into the
Yes.
like
This
how
is when
she
we
sort
get
of she perceives some of the behavior,
yes, yes. I
which,
will
which I thought
say
was rather cute and clever.
yes. Briefly before they go to the mall, another iconic line, get in loser, we're going shopping. That's another one. And that picture is like a meme too. So people will say like get in loser, we're whatever.
Whatever, we're doing whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe it's if it's January 6th and that's your thing, get it loser, we're storming the Capitol. I'm sure someone made that meme. Uh
Okay. I like that. That's good.
for example. So, but yeah, they go and like the fountain at the mall is like the watering hole
Yeah.
in Africa with the animals. And so it's funny to see like all these teenagers like galloping around like animals, but that's like the world. That's the way that Katie like can understand the world, right?
Mhm. The
Um
socialization and
yes.
yeah.
So that's kind of how she sees things. But we get some additional like little bits like for again like Regina is in some ways protective of her friends, right? Like so that guy Jason who blew off Gretchen is there with another girl, so she calls that girl's mom and is like, this is Planned Parenthood, we have her test results, can she call us back? And then
And
immediately that girl's getting a phone call like she has to go home. And it's hilarious, it's great. And I think that's the thing too that makes Regina compelling, because it's like okay, she's like uh evil, but also like protective of her people.
Yeah, her minions,
Yes.
so to speak.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, is she doing this out of the goodness of her heart? Not necessarily.
Eh,
But it's like I think it's a thing of like only I can be mean to them.
well, yeah,
You know,
it's like
like your siblings, right? Like
right,
only
yeah,
I can like call my brother a name.
yeah.
You can't.
What
It's like
yeah,
that.
it's like Animal House. You
Mhm.
can't do that to our pledges. Only we can do that to our pledges.
Exactly. Gretchen is my minion and I can be mean to her, but like you, boy, will not
Hmm.
be mean to
Yeah,
her.
exactly. Especially a
Especially a
boy.
boy. Yeah.
Yeah, and a creepy boy.
Yes. A skeezy. She keeps calling him a skis.
Skis. Yeah, I hadn't heard that for. I don't. I maybe have heard that in my lifetime, but that was that a word back then? Skis.
I don't think so. We would
Okay.
just be like creep. I would
Oh,
say creep.
okay. Or
But
was it just fetch to say skis?
no. But yeah, then we get to meet more of Regina's family. We get to go to her house, which is a huge mansion. Love little cameo of her small little sister dancing to Milkshake by Khalees,
Yes,
which
got
is
that
appropriate.
reference. Yeah, very
Yes. I
inappropriate.
mean, well, it gets worse later when we see her next and she's watching a commercial for Girls Gone Wild and like lifting her shirt up.
Yeah.
Because she's just left to her own devices to watch TV. Regina George's mom is played by Amy Poehler, and she's hilarious. And she, I think, has some great lines too. I'm not a regular mom. I'm a cool mom.
This, yeah, she's brilliant in this. I even wrote that down that, how good she was. And then you could see the development of the relationship, I guess, between her and Tina Fey, going forward. So,
Yes, yes. And she's like she's one of those moms that like again really wants to be the cool mom, is like kind of desperate, wants to be young and like hang out with the teenagers. And I think again, this is like a common thing, right? Like I think in like a friend group, you have like maybe one set of parents that is like the
yeah, the
cool
cool
parents
parents. Oh,
that
you can
like,
drink.
yes.
Yeah.
Like when she brings the drinks and they don't have alcohol, and Lindsay Lohan's like, "Is there alcohol in this?" And she's like, "Oh God, no! But do you want some? I'd rather you drink in the house. I'd rather you drink in the house." I think is like that's how you can tell who the quote unquote cool parents are.
Oh,
They
yeah.
will say, "I'd rather you drink in the house."
Right.
That's like the line.
Than to go out.
But when she's like, "What's going on, girls? What's the 411? Like, what's happening?" And Regina is like, "Mom, go away."
And there is a Spice Girls reference
Oh
because,
yes, Lindsay Lohan asks, they're like, "Do you?" They start playing music, and
yeah,
they're like, "Do you even know who this is?" And she's like, "Is it the Spice Girls?" First of all, it's clearly a man singing,
right. But
and she's like, "Is it the Spice Girls?"
because I
So
wrote
yeah,
down, oh, Spice Girls reference.
they're like, "Oh,
Ta-da.
you're like a Martian." The other detail I love in this too is that Regina is in the master bedroom because she made her parents switch with her.
Hmm.
So
Perfect.
again, this is Regina is the evil like empress in every area of life. This it's not just at school, it's at home too. And then we get kind of some like I guess like teenage girl like rituals of like putting themselves down and then waiting for Katie to also do it,
Right. Yeah. To
to
bring
be
up
like,
something bad about herself.
yeah, like hello. Which I think, I mean, that's not how my friends and I work. We were the Romeo and Michelle. Like, isn't it weird how cute we are? Like we were like that. Um, but I think there is something real there of like there is this expectation of like girls to have a level of insecurity because I think that is the way that like the world is created,
Oh,
right?
okay.
Like, I
Oh,
mean, I don't, every person you see on TV, every magazine you look at is intended to kind of like make you feel bad about you know what I mean? Like, this is how you're supposed to look, this
oh,
is how you're
right.
supposed to dress,
Yeah.
and you're not doing it.
Yeah. This is what your hair is supposed to look like. This is how your makeup should look. So,
Yes, all of that. So I think there is a lot of that, like, that comes at teenage girls. So I think that like there is something like real to this, that there is like society kind of says that
oh,
they're supposed to be. I mean, it is what it is.
but
But
no, I didn't realize it. Well, I guess, not being a teenage girl, never have been, but I just, I didn't think that was, I just never realized that it was that prevalent, or that
yeah,
it was there that much.
I mean, just for example, think of like these last few movies, including this one, that feature skinny people saying they need to lose weight, right?
Yeah, because you're right. Because Rachel's going on and on about how she needs to
I need
lose
to lose
3 pounds,
£3.
3 pounds, 3 pounds.
But I think that
I
like
have
that's a,
shoes that weigh 3 pounds.
right? Just like, but like I like that it exists in these movies because it is like a like diet
Yeah,
culture was like such a big thing,
yeah,
right?
you're right.
You know, we saw people like Britney Spears and like the tabloid would be like, wow, look at how fat she looks. And it's like she weighs 100 pounds. What are you
Uh,
talking about?
yeah, she's
Um,
like above a size 0, or
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So I
There's a
think
number.
yeah. So there is some like real stuff to this. It's obviously like it's presented in a way that's exaggerated, but I think there is some real stuff to this that
Okay.
the I think sometimes it feels like the way the world is set up is so that girls don't feel like good about themselves. And it is like a competition of like who could be the most self-deprecating. Like when that kind of stuff came up with me and my friends, we'd be like, stop, shut up.
Not.
Yeah. You know, if somebody was getting really down on themselves, we'd like, you know,
Yeah.
throw pillows at them until they
Right.
stopped
Yeah.
talking. But yeah, so that's sort of where they're at. And then the burn book is introduced also. So not only were we putting ourselves down, we're putting other people down.
Of course.
Right. Because how else will you feel better
Well, yeah.
than putting
It,
other people down? So, you know, we get just a preview. And we see that Janice is in the burn book.
mm,
And she is described as, I'm going to use the word once, it's not a word they use, as a dyke. And so Katie gets a sense of what's going on there.
right.
Because as I said, Janice was not trying to let her tell the story. We also get another tactic in Regina's arsenal is the three-way call ambush. So Regina calls Katie and is like, oh, like I heard you like Aaron. It's okay, you know, I've moved on, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Aren't you mad that Gretchen told me that? Wasn't that bitchy of her? And Regina, Katie's like, I mean, I guess, but like, I'm not that mad about it. And then boom, oh, Gretchen is also on the call.
Right.
It's a three-way call, surprise. And Katie had said something like, oh, I guess she just like wants the attention. And Gretchen's like, oh my God, I can't believe you think I want attention. But this gives Katie the opening to talk to Aaron, right? Regina said it's okay.
Yeah.
She said it's
a
okay.
she gets a pass.
She
Yeah.
gets a pass. And the next day, it's what is now affectionately known as Mean Girls Day. On October 3rd, he asked me what day it was. It's October 3rd. So now you'll see like on social media on October 3rd, it is that's a
Oh,
meme.
oh,
It's Mean
oh,
Girls Day.
I did
Yeah.
not. Oh, okay. Now I get it. Okay.
Yeah. I should
Oh,
have saved this. I should have saved this for October, but it's okay.
I'll have to
I'll,
remember that. Okay.
I'll post the meme on that day.
Okay. All right.
But
Ooh, I hope
then
it's on a Wednesday. I'll wear pink.
exactly. I think people do wear pink on that day. But this is when she starts faking being dumb in calculus so he could help her. And my favorite part is like her internal monologue is when he's saying stuff and she's like, oh, no, that's wrong.
Yeah.
Wrong.
And that's
Wrong.
wrong.
Wrong. He's wrong about everything. He's not good at math. But he invites her to a party, so it's working.
So I had a note about that. So who invites someone to a costume Halloween party on the day of the party? Oh, and it's a costume party. And so like you got like a couple of hours to come up with a costume. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like,
A 17-year-old boy.
I guess, I don't know I mean, we had Halloween parties, but it was like, a couple weeks ahead of time. So if you're going to get a costume together, but I don't know. So just
Yeah.
saying,
I guess
because
it
I
took
even wrote
him.
that down. So the costume party he gave the same day. Oh, by the way, I'm having a party tonight. You want to come? And it's a costume party.
Yeah. Well, I guess, you know, it's movie magic, but she manages to scrounge together a costume.
It was
But
great.
unfortunately, she misunderstood the assignment. She thought that Halloween means you should wear a scary costume. But as she learns in girl world, Halloween means you wear lingerie and animal ears and call it a costume. Here's
Well,
another great line. I'm a mouse, duh.
well, that you have to dress like a slut.
Yes.
And I wrote down, I complained we didn't have a slut rule when I was in high school for Halloween parties. Otherwise, I probably would have gone to a lot more Halloween parties. I'm just saying.
Well, people didn't know the rules of girl world yet.
I know. So yeah, let's see what I missed out. Being 40 years too old. So
There
just
you
saying.
go.
I know.
So Katie shows up looking terrifying. She's wearing like an old wedding gown, a black wig, her face is painted gray, and she's wearing like teeth. She's got blood coming out of her mouth.
She looked like something
It
out of a
was
Tim Burton movie, which I thought she looked great for Halloween.
she definitely someone was like, "Are you the bride of Frankenstein?" She says, "I'm an ex-wife," which I thought it was funny too. It's
It
clever.
was. Yeah, it was clever.
But people are startled every time they see her because they do not expect that. Karen, we learn, has made out with her cousin, and she doesn't know the difference between a cousin and a first cousin.
First cousin, that was funny.
Gretchen's like, "Oh, honey,
Yeah, yeah,
no."
oh, yeah. Oh, honey, we need to talk.
Meanwhile, Regina is immediately sabotaging Katie. Regina, who gave Katie the green light to talk to Aaron, starts telling Aaron that she's a stalker, that she just crazy stuff, that she's like writing his name on her notebooks, that she has a shirt with his face on it that she wears under her clothes. And he's like, okay. And then she starts like kissing him in front of Katie. And Katie is pissed. She storms away. Because she's like, because Regina said, "Oh, I'm going to talk to Aaron for you. I'm going to put in a good
Right.
word."
Yeah, I'm gonna
And
set
she's
you
looking
up.
at it like, "Oh, great." Like Regina's putting in a good word. And then she's like, "Oh my God, that bitch." And then this part's funny too, when she goes to see Janice and Damien, and they're watching a scary movie, and then she like appears in the doorway.
I love that. I wrote down that was great when she opens up the door and they're like, they almost have a heart attack. Yeah, that's a
Throwing the
great
popcorn
reaction.
and all.
Because I think they're watching. Is it Friday the 13th, or it's like one of those
I
slasher
think
movies.
so.
It's on
I think
VHS or
so.
something like that. But it was
Yeah, because
funny.
I feel
Yeah.
like it's a time when like the door swings open and it's Jason, and then she's
Yeah,
also there.
yeah, it was great. That
Uh,
was.
that was great. So they basically decide, you're going to take down the plastics. You're going to infiltrate the plastics and take them down in various ways, right? We're going to take away the boyfriend. We're going to take away her hot body, and we're going to take away the other plastics from Regina. We're taking down Regina. She starts trying,
Oh my God.
and it's not going well. They like cut holes in her shirt, and then everyone decides to like wear their shirt with holes in it.
Everything they do it just makes her better and more
Yeah.
popular.
Yes. They're like, "We're just making her hotter." and we made her smell like a foot. They gave her foot cream instead of face cream, but it smelled like peppermint, which Aaron liked. And of course, at this time, Regina is like flaunting Aaron in front of Katie and like being super bitchy. Like she's just sitting next to Aaron, not talking to him. But as soon as Katie comes up, she's like, "Oh, Aaron," all in
Oh,
his
about his
face.
hair,
Doesn't
don't
his
you think
hair look
his hair?
sexy? Push back. Tell him his hair looks sexy. Push back. Like, ugh, gross. This is also when Regina tells us the story of Janice.
Yes.
So they were friends in middle school.
Oh,
And Regina got a boyfriend, and she said that Janice was very jealous of her boyfriend, like weirdly jealous. And she decided that that meant Janice was a lesbian. And she uninvited Janice from her pool party, because you cannot have someone who's a lesbian around a bunch of girls in bathing suits, obviously. And then she's like started getting bullied and left school, and then showed back up and like, if you've seen this movie, Janice has like this sort of like dark hair, sort of like gothy, punky, Hot
yeah.
Topic vibe. So she showed back up looking like that. And I guess now she's on crack. Because they're talking about like cracking her.
Yeah.
Regina's like, "What is she talking about?" She's like, "Oh, crack? I don't know." Again, we get a glimpse of evil Regina at this moment too, because she compliments a girl's skirt. She goes out of her way to compliment this girl's skirt, just for her to walk away and say, "That is the ugliest effing skirt I've ever seen."
And Katie flashes back.
To her complimenting Katie's bracelet
Uh-huh.
when they
About
first met. And she's like, "Oh,
now
this
I know.
bitch."
This is
So
what she does.
she's just like mean for no reason. Which again, I think we've talked about in some of these other high school things, like that does not feel like an
The real
experience that I
thing.
had. Like, I
Think
mean,
it would
I'm
be
sure it's real. I'm sure there are people like this, but like when I went to high school, like again, people were like mean to other people if they had like a personal problem with you,
but not as a group or a class thing or
not to
like,
just like, yeah,
yeah,
not a random girl walking past you in the hallway
yeah,
to
that you
be
would
like,
just be single, like just, yeah,
yeah.
just pick
Also
on.
at my school, if somebody thought something you were wearing was ugly, they would just tell you that.
Oh, really? So it was pretty blunt?
When I was a senior in high school, um, there was an annual event for the people in AP English because we had a unit on Victorian, like England. We read like
Hmm.
Jane Austen and stuff, even though that was not Victorian, but
I get you.
um, and we had a Victorian tea.
Oh,
So the band room they filled with these like it was like old sets from like plays, and we had tea, and everybody had to bring like Victorian tea type like cucumber sandwiches, and I made rose petal sandwiches, and you're supposed to dress like
oh,
Victorian tea.
in costume, in the
Yes.
period.
And one girl I was friends with came in a dress that was an 80s wedding dress.
Oh, really?
It was a short 80s wedding dress. It didn't look Victorian at all, but
Not
it was
even
what she,
close, huh?
no. And we had to go from like the band room just across the hall was the auditorium. And so we were going backstage to like get something to bring back in. And we were walking back, these younger girls were walking by. And one of these girls, this still makes me laugh to this day. It was mean, but it's like shocking. So it makes me laugh. She was like, "Girl, what are you wearing? You look like a hot shit mess. What are you wearing?" And I was dying. I was dying.
Hot
As
shit
they said that to
mess.
this girl, hot shit mess. I remember to this day. But so that's no one was gonna say, "Oh, I love that dress," and then under their breath say she looks like they would say, "Girl, you look like a hot shit mess." Which you know what? I can appreciate. Be
Oh,
upfront. I'd rather
yeah,
know.
right. I'd rather you say it to my face than to back compliment me.
Yes.
That's funny.
It
See, now
was
that's gonna stick in my mind. Whenever I see something, I go, "That's a hot shit mess."
really a hot shit mess. Like it was like she said it just like she was confused. Why
Like,
are you wearing what are you doing?
like she was really puzzled by her choice of attire.
Yes. Yes.
That is funny.
It made me laugh so much. And I was like, this is really mean. Like she's my friend and I should not be laughing, but it was really funny. Anyways, I digress. So
Oh,
Regina is just mean for no reason. That's
right.
what, like that was not like an experience that I had.
Okay.
I mean, not in high school, occasionally in middle school. I think middle schoolers, again, I think, and I've said this before, I think people are meaner in middle school than high school, at least in my
Oh,
experience.
okay.
I think middle school people are, it's, that's when puberty is all starting. I think people are, and I
Just
think in
get out
high
of
school,
control.
yeah, and I think in high school, there is a sense of like, oh, like the real world is coming. In
Mm,
middle school, you don't have that.
yeah.
There's
It's
not
like,
that like humility that comes with it, you know? Um, that there's like bigger stuff going on. You
right.
don't have that in middle school.
Yeah.
It's just this
It's just
here.
this. Yeah. Just right here, right now.
Yeah. So if I need to like throw trash at the girl at the end of the table for no reason.
Right.
That a girl did that to this girl I sat with in middle school. But yeah, anyways, they're not doing well in breaking up the plastics. So they're like, okay, here's what we have to do. We're going after Gretchen.
If we can crack Gretchen,
Yes,
we can bring down the plastics.
exactly. Because we know Gretchen has all the information.
Right.
So if we can crack Gretchen, then we get information that we use. So they use the candy cane grams.
That was funny.
So great. Or for you, Glen Coco, you go Glen Coco. The amount of times people have said you go Glen Coco in my life. That's
Oh,
another one that's
really?
like,
Oh, okay.
I don't even know if I wrote that down in my initial.
Was that one of your ones that you remembered or that you
It
say, "Oh, I
wasn't, which
use"?
is crazy because
Oh,
that's one that like I think
oh,
for like 5 years, whenever somebody did something, people would be like, "Oh, you go Glen Coco," every time. So basically, what they do is they make it seem like everyone is getting a candy congram from Regina, except Gretchen.
Mhm.
And then it further unravels at the talent show, which, first of all, Damien singing Beautiful by Christina Aguilera. When he's, don't look at me.
Yeah, that was because that was.
I do think too, like at that time, that was such like a middle school, like a talent show song. Because it's like sort of this very popular, like,
Oh
feel good
yeah,
about yourself, like ballad.
right.
That was very like, if we were to have a talent show in 8th grade, like someone would have sang that.
Would have sang that.
So that felt very like true to the moment also. But the Plastics annually do a skanky dance to Jingle Bell Rock.
And now I even wrote down the costumes were, well, the
Well, I
whole
think
routine was
the thigh slap when you get to the thigh, which like makes Katie's parents like jump.
just the outfits, and then like you said, the
When
routine
they go
itself.
down and you hear that of the
Yeah.
thigh slap. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh God, that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
But as they line up, like Gretchen has to move. She doesn't get to be right next to Regina
Right. Yeah.
because Katie is taking that spot.
Further reinforcing the fact that she thinks she's on the outs with Regina.
She's being demoted
Yes.
in the Plastics.
In favor of Katie.
Yes. And of course, she's already spilling secrets backstage, right?
Right. Yeah. Just
Regina doesn't really like Katie. Regina's parents don't sleep in the same bedroom. She had a nose job. But you didn't hear it from me. Don't tell her I told you that.
I told you that. Yeah. Yeah.
We also get Kevin G's rap, also iconic.
And who I like, by the way, Kevin G's is funny. Very funny.
Hilarious. I love it. He just calls Katie Africa.
Yeah. So
and he hits on Janice, which is like very puzzling to her. She's like, what?
Doesn't he also come out he says he likes women of color?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because he thinks Katie likes him at some point. And he's like, I only like women of color. And she's like,
yeah.
Okay.
Okay. It's like.
So anyways, they do their Jingle Bell Rock dance. I mean, the best part is when they accidentally kick the boombox into the guy's face. Yeah, the guy Jason.
Jason,
the skeezy guy Jason.
The skeezy guy. Yeah, I was going to say sleazy, but
like
skeezy.
At high velocity into his face. And then they have to sing it.
They have to ad lib. Yeah.
Yes. And Katie saves the day by leading the singing. Also, another iconic moment too is Regina George's mom, like doing the choreo with them in the aisle with the video camera. Iconic. This part of the movie also is Ariana Grande has a video for her song Thank You Next that like parodies this.
Oh really? Okay.
Mm-hmm. It parodies actually like the whole movie, but like they do that scene and it has but Kris Jenner is doing that.
Oh, okay.
In the video. But I think that's another like iconic moment of her, doing
the dance moves with the girls.
Yes. And then I think the straw that breaks the camel's back is backstage after this when they're talking about it. And Gretchen keeps calling things fetch, right? She says this is slang from England. And Regina is like, Gretchen, stop trying to make fetch happen. It's not going to happen. Cut to Gretchen in class giving a speech about the murder of Julius Caesar. Brutus is totally as cute as Caesar. Everybody likes Brutus as much as Caesar. We should all just totally stab Caesar.
Do you get the feeling she's really not talking about Brutus and Caesar?
You would think. One would think. Possibly. And she starts spilling more, right? Gretchen is not allowed to wear hoops because Regina said hoops were her thing. And her parents got her a beautiful pair of white gold hoops for Hanukkah, and she had to pretend like she didn't even like them.
And that was hurtful.
Yes.
Yes.
But the big bombshell is that every Friday, I think, Regina says she goes for tutoring, but she's actually cheating on Aaron with Shane Oman in the projection room above the auditorium. And then we get increasingly ridiculous attempts to get Aaron Samuels to go to the projection room above the auditorium. Like, I think one time he goes there and Regina gets away, so it's just Shane Omen, and he's like, what?
Well,
My
I love the
favorite one.
fact the swim practice will be held in the projection room.
Yes.
It's like,
Or when Damien takes Katie's purse, and she's
oh
like,
my
"Oh,
God.
I think he's heading to the projection room above the auditorium." And then they catch Coach Carr and one
Yeah.
of their fellow students, Trang Pak, making out, which is a concern, and which also does not seem to come to light until the other burn book stuff does.
Right. Yeah. That was a thing.
Maybe we should have brought that up. I'm just
Uh,
saying. Maybe we should have left an anonymous note in the
uh,
principal's office or something. But it doesn't seem
um,
like that comes to light until all the other stuff does.
right.
Which in
Yeah.
retrospect, I'm like,
Yeah. That's, yeah.
this feels like a problem of a different caliber than
Yeah.
Regina George and her boyfriend.
You cheating on her boyfriend with another high school boy. Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
now you got a middle-aged man. Yeah. Fooling
Yeah.
around with a teenage girl. To Catch a Predator, Part 2.
Have a seat.
Yeah. Who are you here to see, Coach? Were you expecting someone else?
You have some Mike's Hard Lemonade, McDonald's, and condoms, sir.
What was your plan?
Right. But also, their plan is like working, but also not working, because the meaner Regina is to her minions, the more they want her to like them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also happening to Katie.
Yeah, that's
Like she's no longer like undercover. She's like gone full in.
yeah, she's like
Right?
now one of the plastics. I mean,
Exactly. It's
yeah,
like is it a Nietzsche quote? Like when you stare at the abyss stares back at
stares
you.
back at you. Yeah. So
This she's in it now.
yeah.
Like
Oh yeah, yeah.
she's like obsessed with Regina. She keeps talking about her. She's like wearing her perfume, and to which Janice says, "You smell like a baby prostitute," which is a description that we used to use a lot.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yes.
To which Katie's response, by the way, thank you.
Katie starts really doing bad in calculus to get Aaron to help her, which again is ridiculous to me. I can't. As someone who was good at math in high school, I would die before pretending to be bad at math for a boy. She should have just offered to tutor him. He was bad.
Hey, well, I know, but that's well, it wouldn't have worked as well in the movie plot.
It wouldn't have. And also, if we're being honest, not all high school boys are excited about girls being better at math than them. I learned.
Oh, okay. All right.
Although also when you have a boyfriend who's worse at you than math, that can be very frustrating. I'm not good at tutoring people in math, I learned.
Oh, okay.
Also. Because I'm just like,
why can't you get this?
It's right there. We just went over it. It's like, if you've ever seen those memes, you might not, but it's like, it'll be a meme of like a parent and child like reading like the word problem, like if Johnny has 5 apples, how many do they have if you take away 3? And the kid will say something wrong, and it's like, if Johnny has 5 apples, like that's me.
Yeah, that was you.
Yeah, I'm like, it's right there. But in any case, she is debasing herself for the affection of a dumb high school boy. But she does eventually crack and say, guess what? Regina's cheating on you.
Yep.
And he breaks up with Regina, who's all sad. But he does not tell Regina that Katie told him, obviously. He says someone on the baseball team did. And the plastics and Katie are all comforting Regina. This is when we get another, Karen, you're so stupid. Because Karen asks if she wants to get Taco Bell, which I think is a perfectly valid suggestion when someone is upset.
Exactly.
I just said that to my friend the other day.
What, you want to go get Taco Bell?
Yeah, I was like, wouldn't it be nice to get out of your house and we could go to a Taco Bell and dine in at a Taco Bell? Make a day of it.
Yeah.
Dine in. But Regina did not want to hear this. She's, Karen, you're so stupid, in that voice. And Karen is stupid, which she admits. She's failing everything. She can
Yeah.
fit her fist in her mouth, and she has a fifth sense. It's like she has ESPN or something.
The lines were the dialogue was very well written.
Amanda Seyfried's, the fact that she could deliver those words straight
faced without cracking up, and
bless her.
but and have that blank look.
Yes,
that
just
that
nothing.
Right, that vacuous.
Empty between the ears.
Yes,
It was great. It was great.
Actually, we'll get into the actors, but I think all of them did a really good job. At portraying the characters they did. Because we're looking at this 20 years later. When you saw it for the first time, it was like, who are these people? But now, now we know who they are.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But anyway, so
and then this is also when we find out that her ESPN is that her breasts can tell when it's already raining.
Yeah.
She first like, they could tell when it's gonna rain. Well, they could tell when it's already raining.
Right. Yeah. So Katie's like, well, okay, good for you. Glad you have that.
Yes. Yes. Also, at the same time, Katie has been sabotaging Regina by giving her weight gain bars. They're bars that her mom would give kids in Africa who are underweight to help them gain weight.
Undernourished, yeah.
And as soon as she said that, you could see she and Janice
they
lock eyes.
Yeah, you can see the light bulb go on over their head.
They just share a look.
Yeah.
So that's also part of the sabotage, right? That destroy the hot bod. So things are happening. Regina has gained weight. We can tell.
Yeah. The plans
are working.
Yep.
Regina, Katie is ascending, essentially, is what's happening. Although, there are some chinks in the armor. Mrs. Norbury is like, I know that you're pretending to be dumb. That, you shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
And she's like, what are you talking about? I know what you're talking about. Katie also pulls a three-way ambush on Regina.
Yeah.
She's talking to Regina, but Gretchen is there, and then they're talking, and then Regina also talks about Karen and says people don't like her because she's such a slut or something. And then Gretchen is gonna tell Karen that, but Regina has called Karen to ask her to come out, and Karen was gonna go, but then Gretchen tells her that Regina called her a slut. And then this is when Karen says, I'm sick. And then Regina says, boo, you whore. Another iconic line, but that's where that quote was from the beginning of the episode, folks, when I went, I'm sick. Although for real, I do have COVID right now, unfortunately. Regina shows up to school in sweatpants and approaches the plastics table.
And it's not
Friday.
Oh, let's see. There you go. And
she's like, these are all that fit me right now. And Gretchen, it's been building. You can tell she just goes, you can't sit with us. It just bursts out. That's another line that people.
Oh, is it? You can't sit with us. Oh,
yes. This part.
If you ever said that to me.
No, I wouldn't say it to you. There are other people I would have said it to. Okay. Not you though. Anyways, Regina is rejected from the table. What's a little bit funny and silly is that one of the larger girls goes, "Move, fat ass," to Regina.
One of the girls that I think that they talked about being in the burn book.
Yes.
About being overweight. Yeah. And she goes, move it, fat ass. And
then Gretchen and Karen start following Katie around. She's like, you guys don't have to.
It's me.
They're attached to her.
Yeah.
Suddenly. And she was supposed to go to Madison with her parents. And they're looking at her like, what? And then she's like, oh, I can get out of it. And they're like, oh, yeah. And she's like, I can have people over my house. And they're like, yeah. Meanwhile, she was also invited to Janice's art show that weekend. And she said she couldn't go because she was going out of town with her parents.
Which was true at the time.
Which was true at the time.
Right.
She has not updated Janice that her plans have changed. She tells her parents But she tells her parents that she's staying because she has to go to Janice's art show, which is a
Because she
lie.
made a promise, right? Yeah.
Yes, because she made a promise. So she's lying to like everybody. She's weaving a web of lies now. And then she's having people over. She's having a few people over, which if you've ever seen a movie that takes place in high
Oh
school
my God.
and someone is having a few people over while their parents are out of town, no, it's a house party. Even if you plan to have only a few people over, it's now a house party.
Word gets out.
Right.
People just show up.
Yes. But obviously, Katie, not having gone to high school, didn't know this. But she's in an outfit that is very 2004. She's wearing a tube dress with a visible bra, which is very tacky in retrospect. With the bra straps. Like those are not the straps of the dress. She's wearing a red bra with a black and
I see
pink
what you're
tube
saying.
dress.
Oh,
It
okay.
does not look good.
Gotcha.
But that was like the thing.
Yeah.
With a choker.
I wondered what that was. Okay, that's what that was.
Yes, that was a choker.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
But anyways, the party is growing and eventually Aaron comes and Katie and Aaron are kind of getting close. Katie has been taking shots also.
Right. I was
a
going
lot
to say, yeah, she's
throughout
been
the
like,
night.
been down in a few.
Every time she like exits a room, she's picking up a shot. And it does not seem like that's something she's done a lot. She doesn't seem like she's got a tolerance.
Probably not. Although I don't know. Surely they had alcohol over, when her parents were over there. So, but maybe she was.
But
too
she's probably
young.
like hung out with her parents all the time.
Yeah, that's true too. So,
but in any case, she's with Aaron and she's starting to confess about, I'm actually good at math and you're bad at math. I was like, okay, this part's relatable. You're actually really bad at math. And then she throws up on him. Oh, also she's being mean also.
Right. Yeah.
He was basically saying, she's telling him, oh, well, I couldn't be with you because you were Regina's property. And he's like, I was not Regina's property. And he's like, you're sounding like Regina. And then she throws up. So this is where like shit hits the fan. Because then that happens. He storms out. She's like, Aaron, wait, don't leave. Then Janice and Damien pull up and she's like, you a-hole. You said you were leaving and you skipped my art show. And she's like, I'm pretending to be plastic. And she's like, you're not pretending anymore. You are.
And like Damien keeps driving the car because he says curfew. He goes, I got to have the car back by, he
my
can't
curfew
stop
is
the
1
car.
o'clock. It is 1:10. I am not stopping this car. So they're just like very slowly driving by while Janice is poking out of the sunroof to yell at her.
Yeah, it was a good scene.
It was great. It was great. She's like, you're a mean girl, Katie.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yes. The title of the movie. And she also throws a painting. It was like a very beautiful drawing of Katie and Janice and Damien.
I know, it was really nice. It was like a nice picture. And she goes, yeah, she's like, oh, here was I was going to give this to you or whatever it was. And then flings it at her.
Yes. And also, Regina learns that the bars she's been eating are to make her gain weight because her boyfriend Shane Oman is like, oh, Coach Carr makes us eat those when we need to move up a weight class.
They make you gain weight like crazy.
I love this scene because it is, I thought of the scene recently because it was a day that I was just like really mad. And I was like, this is how I feel when she's just screaming.
Oh.
Like walking around her house, just screaming the whole time though.
Yeah. You don't
opening doors. I might have on the day I was thinking of this, but like, I feel this way internally, at least sometimes.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I felt that way.
You gotta let that out.
Recently, it was like a day at work and I was just like, it was one of those days that feels like the world is testing you. And this is how I felt.
And you're failing miserably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I get you.
So then she pulls out the burn book and starts writing, right? And the implication.
Oh, this was good too.
This is excellent, right? The implication is that she's writing something really awful about Katie, right? Because she pulls up a picture of the two of them, cuts it, pastes one in there, starts writing.
And it's horrible stuff.
Horrible stuff. Yes. Yeah. This is the ugliest slut I've ever seen or whatever.
Treacherous, backstabbing. Yeah.
Yes. And then the next day at school, She brings the burn book to the principal. Principal Tim Meadows, by the way.
Whose carpal tunnel has come back.
Him in this part of the movie is my favorite.
Oh yeah.
Although I
This is
do
like
like the
Coach
part.
Carter.
I do, yes. It's like Coach Carter and like Lean on Me.
Yeah.
I do like the part at the beginning when he talks about his nephew Anthony. He was like, my sister always gets mad when I mispronounce my nephew's name, Anthony. Almost as mad as I get when I think about the fact that she named him Anthony. So, anyways, Regina George has brought the burn book to Principal Tim Meadows. I can't even think of the character's actual name now.
Yeah, so
Principal Tim Meadows, and is like, I can't, like, oh my god, I found this, and he's like, you just found this, and she's like, mm-hmm.
mm-hmm.
The best part is that she's like fake crying, and at one point she like corrects him on something, and he's like, what? And she goes back to fake crying. And then she says, well, there's only 3 girls who aren't written about in there. And then Katie, Gretchen, and Karen are called to the office. One of my favorite parts about this, another realistic part, Katie's in health class, and they're like, Katie Heron, you need to go to the principal's office. And everybody goes, ooh. Did that happen when you were in school?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because that was such a thing. That's like such a real thing.
Yeah.
Someone gets called to the office and everybody goes, ooh.
Because it would always be, it was another student, because there was always a student assigned to the principal's office to be the messenger guy or person or whatever. And it was always, they had to go to the classroom and they go, hey, the principal wants to see you.
Yeah.
You know?
At our school, they would call like on the overhead. Like,
oh no, they would send them to
classroom.
class. Yeah, they would be, we didn't have intercoms.
They could intercom into like individual classrooms, so they would intercom into the specific classroom to be like,
we didn't have that. But
Jim, come to the office.
No,
and everybody would go. So the whole class would hear it.
Yeah.
And everybody would be like, ooh.
No, they would come to the teacher, and the teacher would be like, they'd hand a note to the teacher, and the teacher would say, the principal, hey, Jim, the principal needs to see you. And yes, it happened a few times. So.
But yeah, so Katie, Gretchen, and Karen are called in about the burn book because they are the only people not in it. So it turns out Regina actually wrote a horrible thing about herself to frame them.
Yeah, pasted her picture in there.
Yes.
Devious to the end, because I thought for sure she was going to put Katie's picture there.
Right?
I was going to bet money on this.
You really think that? And then it's like, no, she's a level above.
Oh,
she is an evil genius.
She's 6 steps ahead of everybody.
Exactly. She's strategic.
Lex Luthor. Exactly.
When they said she was evil, they weren't joking.
Exactly. She's there.
And then the next part of her plan, she made copies of all the pages and is just tossing them throughout the hallways.
Sliding them under classroom doors. I love that.
Yes.
It's like, so.
And then all these girls start coming out of class, right? They're reading.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, hey, you're the only person who know that. Like, why would you say that? Oh, that's true. Haha. And they all start fighting. And it quickly descends into just melee. And then the secretary comes in. The girls have gone wild. And then here we get Principal Tim Meadows pulls out a bat.
Baseball bat, like Coach Carter, but he didn't hit him. He was
Morgan Freeman and Lean on Me.
Lean on Me. Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah.
And he just goes out there and he's trying to like pull them apart. Then he sees Coach Carr.
Yeah. He's
like, Coach Carr, step away from the underage girls. And then Coach Carr takes off running.
Well, he had the 2 girls, like, and he goes, I was just separating them, and he had them,
yes, and it was the 2 like Asian girls,
right, that he'd been making out with.
Presumably been making out with, yeah. Step away from the underage girls. And then he has to bust the fire alarm because they just won't break apart.
I said, brilliant move. Hit the fire alarm and put the sprinklers on.
All junior girls to the gymnasium right now. I love this too when he's there and he's like lecturing them. He's like, I will keep you here all night. We legally can't keep them past 4. I will keep you here till 4.
Well, and then he talks about, he goes, I'm going to cancel spring fling, except we already paid the DJ. So
Yes.
it's
I
like,
did not leave the South Side for this. His Tim Meadows, that's like this segment of the movie is like my favorite part of him.
well, he's brilliant in this. That just his interaction and then the way he delivers his lines. So
Yes. And then this next part when he's like, okay, what, like, let's talk about it. And the girl says, people think I'm not a virgin because I use super jumbo tampons, but it's not my fault. I have a heavy flow and a wide set vagina. And he's like, Mrs. Norbury,
yeah, he goes, I
I
can't
can't do
do
this.
this.
Mrs. Norbury, you are a beautiful, intelligent woman. Please talk to them. And he's like, goodbye.
I'm out. I'm done.
That was also a joke line that people would say, talking about a heavy flow and a wide set vagina.
Oh God, I don't know how many times that would come up in conversation with me, but anyway,
You'd
so
be surprised. They're talking about self-esteem, and I this is one part. I think he says something about their self-esteem, and Mrs. Norbury, who's Tina Fey, is like, it's not a self-esteem problem. They all seem pretty pleased with themselves. I mean, it. Putting on my social work hat now, like it is a self-esteem problem, right?
right, but
If you have good self-esteem, you're not like you don't put other people down.
you don't.
Strangely enough.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
I learned something.
there you go. You know,
Thanks.
they're all
Thank
very
you.
insecure, and they think that the way to feel better is to put other people down, and that's not it. But she's basically, you know, talking about they've all been mean to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say here, I love this movie and I think it's very funny, and there's a lot that's true. I do reject the framing that a lot of people have in life that like girls are especially catty to each other. I just like
Okay.
it's just is like
Yeah.
not my experience. Like I don't
Not
think
your experience.
yeah, like that girls like, you know, there are people that are like, oh, girls are all catty, like they don't want to be friends with each other. They all just I don't think that that's true.
Okay.
Like I think that and I think people are can be better about it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
There are people who are better about it than others, but I think generally like I don't know, like most of my friends have always been girls and it's never been a problem.
Never been a problem where you oh well, yeah, you were supposed to be friends, but so and so said this about you or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's just like not
Okay.
that's just not my experience at least.
Okay.
So anyways, I just reject the idea that like girls can't be friends with each other because they're all like catty. I think that that's just not true. Maybe some girls are, but I think, you know, I don't
Well,
know.
I think you put it in your experience. It hasn't been that. So, and you went to a large, you had a large population in your high school, right? It was a big
Mm-hmm.
school, so it wasn't like it was, a small school.
Mm-hmm. The cattiest person I knew was a boy.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, so I think it just like doesn't ring true for me, and I think it just I just don't like like stereotype of
No, I
stuff about
understand.
girls like that.
Yeah, like just lumping them into this category of, oh, girls are just mean
Yeah.
or just, they're bitchy or
Mm-hmm.
right.
Yeah. No. Exactly. And honestly, like boys, maybe it like looks different, but I think there's conflict between boys too.
There
Like,
can be, yeah. So
and maybe it just like looks different, like the way it's expressed. But like,
it is, guys at that age, in high school and then even into college and stuff. And even even as adults, you sit there and you put each other down. You sit there
mhm,
and you're just such an idiot, or
yeah, it becomes more of like
no, go
a
ahead.
measuring contest.
Oh no, it is. It can be, yeah, very much so. And sometimes it can be done in a friendly way, or it can be
Hmm.
done as friends. I mean, I have friends that, and we do that to it, to each other a lot. That's, it's like, Jesus, how could you be so stupid? And you just laugh about it. So, but if somebody else might say the same thing to you,
Hmm.
it would hurt, or
Yeah.
it would feel hurtful, if it was somebody you didn't know or didn't have that background with. So,
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I think for me, like when I was in high school, I like, you know, I, it is just like a fact of life that like people talk about people, right? That's just the thing. I
Yeah.
think there is something different than like, I would never like ambush someone on a three-way call or like deliberately try to be hurtful. But like, I remember, for example, when I was a senior, at the end of lacrosse practice, me and a couple of my friends used to always sit in someone's car and
Hmm.
just talk about stuff after
Yeah.
practice and be like, this person really pissed me off today. But also then it was just like over, right? We
Yeah.
just move on. It wasn't like, let's all go bully her. It was
Yeah.
just like,
Or yeah, let's plan this elaborate scheme to
right,
yeah, to get
hurt
back,
her.
yeah, to get back at her. Yeah. So
Right. And certainly there were people we didn't like and people we didn't think were good at lacrosse or whatever. But
but
it was just like,
it wasn't worth your time and energy.
exactly. We weren't going to deliberately try to like go interfere
Yeah.
with their life. We just wanted to talk about it amongst friends to be like, can you believe that thing just happened?
Yeah. Or
What the hell was that?
yeah, or Jesus, how did this person ever get on this team? Or
Right.
yeah, or
Right. Although it is funny, there was one girl who like had been friendly with me leading up, like
dish the dirt.
the years before this, but then
Hmm.
suddenly senior year, it was like she was like very competitive with me. Like she and I played the same position, and then we both became captain senior year, and she like
Hmm.
wanted to play the position that I was playing. And it was like, well, like you play that position, I play this position.
Yeah.
And one of my best friends was also like close with her, so she would sometimes go hang out with her and sometimes hang with us. And that person was talking to my friend about how we would all sit in the car and talk at the end of the day. And it's like, do you understand that that is also what you are doing?
Right.
You are doing that right
Yeah,
now.
you were part of that.
You're upset about us like talking about people at the end of practice. You were talking about people before practice. You're doing the same thing, just at your house instead of in the car. It's just like, and it's just like silly, right? No
Yeah.
one wants to like hurt each other's feelings. It's just like we all have feelings about each other and we just want to talk about them.
Yeah.
That was kind of the extent of where it went. But I think again, I think that would happen like regardless of gender, right? Like at boys after boys across practice, they probably talk to each other and be like, he was being such an
Oh,
asshole today. What the hell?
yeah.
Like,
Or yeah, or like what happened to why was Joe such an asshole today? Or
exactly.
what's his problem?
Yeah. It was just like a debrief.
Although
Um,
guys, and I don't know if girls, but like we would call a guy on it though. It's like hey, why are you being such an asshole? What or hey, is there a problem? If somebody was like being a dick or something.
yeah.
And
I
they
think
and they normally weren't. It would be
yeah.
like hey, there's something going on.
I think sometimes we would and sometimes it's like not worth it. Cause I think sometimes we didn't like want, if somebody's like sucking, I don't want to be like, hey, why do you suck today? Cause that feels mean. Or like, oh, there's sometimes like I remember one time this girl was taught we were trying to do stretching at the end to be done.
Hmm.
And this girl would not stop talking. And my friend was like, stop talking. Like, be quiet. And she was like, don't ever talk to me like that. Don't tell me to be quiet. And she's like, you're talking. Everybody's trying to just like stretch at the end of practice and then be done.
Yeah.
You're distracting from it. And so she was like in her face. So like that, she said something to her then. But then of course afterwards we're like, why did she freak out like that? When you were just telling her to be quiet when she was like being loud at a time when everybody was quiet. Like, so, sometimes we just had to reflect on like, what the hell is going like, what
Yeah.
is going on?
A recap.
It's like also like if it was one of my friends was being weird, I would be like, what's up with you? But not
Hmm.
everybody on the team was my friend.
Yeah. Yeah. Just because you're teammates doesn't mean you're friends.
Yeah, there were some people I didn't want to talk to at all. Anyways, back to North Shore High School. So Miss Norberry is like confronting them all about being mean to each other. The best part is Regina George is like, some people here were just victims, so we shouldn't have to sit through this. And Mrs. Norberry goes, you're right. Raise your hand if you've ever been personally victimized by Regina George. And everyone raises their hand, including the teachers, staff,
Teachers.
principal, secretary,
Yeah,
everyone.
I love because Tim Meadows sort of like
He's
the
like
hands
slowly.
it goes up yeah, and the teachers. I also like when she said whoever here has been called a slut, one of the teachers raises her hand.
Yes. And she also wants, like, does anybody want to own up to anything?
Yeah.
Katie is in,
Uh,
in her head, like, yes, but she won't do it. So then eventually they have this sort of setup where people one by one get to go up and apologize for
the
things they've
trust
said or done.
exercise.
And then they do a trust fall.
Yeah.
This again, iconic moment when this girl gets up and goes, I wish that we could all get along like we did in middle school. Then Damien, who has snuck in to the girls' assembly.
Right.
She doesn't even go here. Another repeated line.
Oh,
If
really?
someone doesn't belong somewhere, if someone is saying
She
something out of
doesn't even
turn,
go here.
she doesn't even go here. And then she's like, I just have a lot of feelings. Ms. Norberry's like, go home.
Yeah, you can leave.
And we get some funny ones, like Karen apologizes to Gretchen for telling everybody that she had diarrhea at Barnes and Noble.
And for making fun of her
And
for
for making
doing
fun
it.
of her and for repeating it again in that moment. Gretchen is like, I'm sorry that people are jealous of me. Not my fault that I'm popular. And no one catches her except for Karen. It's like, oh, walk it off. Walk it off.
Walk it off. I
They're
did
both
like
like, oh.
I like the girl in the wheelchair.
Oh my God. It's just like, bunk.
You didn't really see it, but so you kind of
you
like, you heard it.
It didn't sound good.
No, it didn't.
I don't hate you because you're fat. You're fat because I hate you.
Yeah, some of the lines are like a lot of the lines, the dialogue is very well done.
Yes. Janice reveals the whole scheme that they've put together. So they find out that Katie has been trying to infiltrate and sabotage and steal Regina's boyfriend, which Regina is upset about. And then Janice goes, because I guess I've got a big old lesbian crush on you. And then everybody's like, Janice. That's another one that people have said before. Big old lesbian crush on you.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But Regina's storming out and Katie goes after her. And Regina is like, nobody really likes you. You should hear what people say about you. And she gets hit by a bus.
And that's how Regina McQueen died.
Yes.
No, not really.
She didn't really die. She did not die. But
she
Katie
was hurt really bad.
Yes, she was very badly hurt. She broke her spine. She broke her back. So she's wearing a halo. And Katie is back to the bottom of the social hierarchy.
Because a lot of people think she pushed her in
They
front of the
think
bus.
she pushed her. And they also think that like she orchestrated a lot of this stuff.
The whole thing, yeah.
So her mom is mad at her. She's grounded. She has to sit behind the farting guy.
Who farts on her on purpose.
Yes.
You can tell.
She has to, and then she's back to eating in the bathroom. It's like really like she's back to day one. Mm. One of the things that was in the burn book is that Mrs. Norberry is a drug pusher.
Oh, yeah,
which Katie wrote in a fit of frustration one day when Mrs. Norberry was like, I'm going to push you to like do well.
I'm a pusher.
I'm a pusher, Katie. And she's like, what kind of pusher? And Gretchen's like, a drug pusher. And she was like, yeah, probably. And she writes it in the book. They're like, write it in the book, honey.
Yeah.
So Katie finally admits that she wrote that. And it had like real impact on Ms. Norberry. She was like getting investigated and all this stuff. They were like asking
the police
the class,
were at the school asking
like,
questions.
Has she ever offered you ecstasy or marijuana tablets? And someone goes, what's a marijuana tablet?
I think you can get them now though, can't you?
Probably.
Yeah. At the cannabis store.
Yes. So Mrs. Norberry's punishment for Katie / opportunity to earn extra credit is to join the mathletes, which throughout the movie had been offered to her, but everyone is like, no, you can't do that. It's social suicide. But now she has to do it.
I did like at the beginning of when they first started bringing up and Tina Fey's character, Mrs. Norberry, it was like, she said, I really would like to have a girl on the team because this is probably the only opportunity these guys will have to meet a girl.
I love that Kevin G2 was like, if we have a girl, we get more funding. And I'm trying to get jackets.
You have to admire Kevin G's ambition.
Yes. I also just love that scene when Tina Fey is like, oh, I know how you're going to get extra credit. And he just appears.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
She doesn't actually say anything. He just appears like, hey, Africa.
Yeah. Guess how you're going to get that extra credit, girl.
Yes. And then it's time for the spring fling, which is the same night as the mathlete competition. So while some people are getting ready for the spring fling, including Regina, she's fitting in her dress again, but she's got the halo on, which her mom is decorating with flowers.
Oh my God, I know.
She took some of the bars out.
That was great. That was fabulous. So,
So funny. It's the mathlete competition. It's coming down to a sudden death question between Katie and this girl on the other team. And Katie's like internally making fun of the girl on the other team. And she's like, this is not helping. She still might beat me, which is real. That's the kind of stuff that I would think. A lot of my teams lost in high school. And I was like, well, at least I'm smarter than them to make myself feel better. Or
oh, okay.
sometimes one time in lacrosse, the ref was like, you guys are the prettiest team. And I was like, are you just trying to make us feel better because we're losing?
Really? A ref said that to you?
It was a female ref, if that
Oh,
makes a
okay.
difference.
All right. Okay. I was getting ready to say, wait a
It
minute.
wasn't a man. No, it was a woman.
Okay. All right.
Um,
Because that is creepy.
she
So, I
told
mean,
us we were the prettiest team she had like refed for. And I was like, I think you're just saying that because you know we're gonna lose, but
maybe she just had a big old lesbian crush on you.
big old lesbian crush on you. Could have been.
Just saying.
Uh, but yeah, no, it reminded me of that because it was just like, oh, we're just saying this to like make ourselves feel better
Yeah. Well,
about losing.
I did like her inner monologue there where she said, like, making fun of her is not going to make her any less smart than me, and then that she could still
Mm,
win this competition, and it's not going to make me any smarter,
right.
than her.
Yeah.
So
Yes. She has learned a lesson now
yes,
that putting someone else down does not make you better.
well, that, and I like the thing about the mathletes is solve the problem in front of you,
Yes. Yes.
not
Um,
all this other stuff. Solve the problem in front of you. I wrote that down.
so, another iconic moment, the limit does not exist. One time, can I tell you, I watched this movie in college and I was bored. I think our cable was out, so I was just watching DVDs. I
Uh-huh.
watched this and I paused it and
Is
I
it on
did
the
the
board?
math.
Did you?
I did it. Yeah.
Okay.
I couldn't do it now. I don't remember how to do it, but at that
No.
time,
Oh,
calculus
okay.
was fresher in my mind and
Oh,
I
I
did the
thought you were going
math.
to tell me you went back to that scene and you saw on the board where
No.
to see if that
Uh,
was really
I
there.
looked past Aaron Samuels's head to
Yeah.
see it on the board.
Okay.
But I paused the movie and
Oh,
like
okay.
looked
So
at the problem
you did the problem.
that they were solving for
Okay.
sudden death, and it was
Must have been
correct.
a really slow night.
It was like I said, it was the cable was out. I couldn't watch anything else. It might have been like Snowmageddon at that time,
Okay.
like the big
Yeah.
February 2010. It
Yeah.
might have been then, honestly,
Okay.
because I was going stir crazy at that time.
Gotcha.
Um,
Okay.
but I remember I paused it and I was like, I'm gonna work it
Do
out.
the problem, work it
And
out.
she is correct. The limit does not exist.
Oh, okay.
Um, but yeah, the limit does not exist. That's another good meme too. Like, how done are you with work today? The limit does not exist. It can be
It,
applicable to many things.
I like that. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, so they win. Kevin G rips his shirt off in celebration,
That was funny. And
and
that
then
kid needs to eat a sandwich.
he's so skinny. Then they go to spring fling. They're like, well, we're out.
Yeah.
The
Uh-huh.
best part too is back at home. Katie's parents. The mom is Anna Gasteyer from Saturday Night Live, and the dad is Neil Flynn,
Flynn from
who is the janitor from Scrubs and also the dad from The Middle. But the mom is like, "Where's Katie?" And he's like, "I let her go out," and she's like, "She's grounded," and he's like, "Oh, that means I can't go out."
yeah. He was just as clueless about being grounded as Katie was, I think. Because he
Yes.
said, he goes, "You're what's that word? You're grounded. That's it. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, you're grounded."
She was gonna go back home, but even Mrs. Norbury was like, "Well, you're already out, so just
Right,
go to
yeah.
spring fling." So,
And they had their jackets.
yes, they had their cool jackets. They go
Yes.
show them off with the leather
Yeah.
sleeves,
I know.
very
Those were
fancy
nice,
leather jackets. Yeah,
nice leather jackets.
yes. So they go to spring fling. Katie wins spring fling queen, and she gives a speech. I love this part too because Tim Meadows is like, you don't have to give a speech. And she's like,
Yeah.
can I just let me say this? So she's apologizing to everyone. She's complimenting people, and she's like, hey guys, like this doesn't really matter. Like we all just need to be nice to each other. Blah blah blah. She breaks the crown into a million pieces to like give it to people. I love when she first breaks it, and Damien's like, oh,
I know,
as
because
if she stabbed him,
he wanted it so badly.
as if she pierced his heart with a piece of the plastic crown. Oh, right to the gut. But she's, she's tossing it to all the other girls,
Yeah,
to
like, well,
Gretchen, to Regina, to the other girls in the front. She reconciles with her friends, with Damien and Janice, and with Aaron. Janice and Kevin G seem to get together because
oh my God.
Janice
What?
is Lebanese, so she counts as a woman of color for him.
But before that was at the spring fling when everybody was like, oh, and everybody, and then Janice and um,
And Damien
Damien like
are in the
go in
mat.
for the kiss,
Oh
and then
yeah. And
and
then they're
it's
like,
like,
oh,
oh no, 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 it's like, oh, that was wrong. That was so wrong.
yes, everyone's like having their moment.
Yeah.
And then we see kind of what happens the next year at school.
Hmm.
So everyone's kind of the groups are more diffuse
Yeah.
now, which I
It's
think
more
again,
chill.
it feels more like real life to me, right? Regina's playing lacrosse badly. That does not look like actual lacrosse at all.
But that's how she takes her aggression
So she
out.
takes out her aggression.
Although Regina like evidently has a fierce whatever the shot there because she propels the goalie into the back of the net.
Yeah. Karen is doing the weather reports
That is, I
by
gotta admit that was
standing in
pretty
the rain and
funny.
squeezing her boobs to tell you
Yeah,
that there is
it's
a
30%
30% chance that it's already raining.
rain.
Gretchen is hooked up with the Asian girls.
Yeah, and
I was like,
supposedly speaking, whatever it is, the language that, yeah,
yeah,
and like
okay,
being whatever.
yes. And then what's funny is they're like, if anyone tries to threaten this New Balance, and you see like the new plastics walk
Oh,
up and almost get hit by a bus.
the junior girls, yeah,
Yes.
yeah, and then, oh, just kidding,
Just kidding.
yeah.
Yeah. We'll kill anyone who threatens to upset this balance. Not really. But yeah. Then they all live happily ever after.
Yeah, it was it. I liked it. I liked it. I liked the whole movie. The it was funny. It was much funnier than I thought it was. I thought it was going to be, I don't know, maybe more, not dramatic, but maybe more about the bitchiness and stuff. But I didn't think it was going to be as funny as it was.
Yeah,
So I was pleasantly surprised at that because some of it was just laugh out loud funny to me.
for sure. I
You
think
know,
it's just like it's so funny and like absurd too
yeah,
that it's just you can't help but laugh at it. And I think that comes down to Tina Fey, right? Like Tina Fey wrote it.
exactly. So when I looked at and I didn't know that about the movie,
Mhm.
but looking at the credits and so on, and then I you sit there and you go, oh, no wonder. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
So if you somehow don't know who Tina Fey is,
oh geez,
she's Mrs. Norbury in this movie, but she was on SNL for a while. She created and starred on 30 Rock.
30 Rock.
She
She's
created Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. She's been in a bunch of other movies like Baby Mama,
mhm.
Sister. She works a lot with Amy Poehler.
They
They've been on
host
a
award
comedy tour
shows.
together. Yeah. They
Hmm.
hosted the Golden Globes together. They've been on a comedy tour together of late.
And
So
they're brilliant.
yes, they're very funny together,
They are.
obviously. Um, Tina Fey also wrote the book for the musical version of this. So Mean Girls became a stage musical. It sort of followed in the footsteps of like Hairspray, for example. So it was a movie, and then they made a stage musical, and then they made a movie
Of the stage
musical.
musical, right?
Yeah, so
And then there
that
was a
one
sequel I saw, Mean
probably,
Girls 2.
yeah, I think that was probably like a direct to video kind of thing.
I
I've
think
never
it
seen it.
was.
Yeah.
I was, when I was looking for the movie, it came up as I didn't pay much attention, but I saw
Mhm.
there was a Mean Girls too.
Yeah,
So,
that was one of the ones that has like a bunch of different people in it.
oh, I'm sure it's not
But
nearly.
the musical movie was like a big thing. It came out earlier this year, I think.
Oh, okay.
I haven't seen it yet, but I do want to watch it just to see how it's different because Tina Fey did it again. She's in it. She plays Mrs. Norbury again.
Oh, okay.
And I think like Tim Meadows is in it again,
Oh God,
but a
I'd
lot of
watch it
the
just for him.
yeah, a lot of the other people, pretty
Or
much everybody else is different.
different.
Yeah, like John Hamm plays Coach Carr
Oh, okay.
in it.
I could see that.
And
That'd be
then
fun.
obviously the people are like younger because all these people now are like
20 years older. Yeah.
40. So, but yeah, I will say too, it's directed by a guy named Mark Waters, who also directed Freaky Friday, the
Well,
Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis version, which is getting currently a sequel.
yes,
We are amidst,
with Jamie Lee
yes,
and
with Jamie Lee
Lindsay,
Curtis and Lindsay Lohan. We are in the Lohanaissance. She's back, everybody.
and better than ever.
Back and better than ever. Because, well, as we talked about, like, this was sort of peak stardom for Lindsay Lohan, but then this is also peak, like, going out and getting trashed with Paris Hilton and Britney Spears,
Well, it's good.
and things go downhill.
We talked a little bit before, that not knowing what was in front of her, or what was in front of her, but if you just saw this and you thought, boy, Freaky Friday, and then this, and you thought, boy, this is going to be, she's the next whatever,
Mm-hmm.
the next star in the making. And then unfortunately it didn't quite pan out to be that way. So um but you can see in this, I think, in this movie, this is probably the only movie other that I have seen, Freaky Friday.
Mm-hmm.
But that, you can see why people would say, oh, she's a good actor.
Mm-hmm.
She was good in this.
Yeah.
She did play the naive, the sweet, the person that, and she came across as that. And then, but she also played the bitchy, mean, sort of person that she became. She played both sides of the coin, I thought, very well. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you can see the arc, right? Of her,
oh
like,
yeah,
going from, like, she doesn't know what's going on to, like,
Little
she
Miss
is
Naive,
right.
and
She's
yeah,
Regina. Then
and
she's Regina.
and maybe even more so Regina than
Mm-hmm.
Regina. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I
and
think
then
she was probably, obviously, like, the adults, but of the, like, teen stars, she was probably the biggest name at the time in
I'm
this, except
guessing,
for maybe Lacey Chabert,
I
because
was going to,
Lacey Chabert had done stuff, but, like,
well, she
Lindsay
done Lost in
Lohan,
Space. And of course, now to me, she's the queen of Hallmark.
I was gonna say, yeah.
So every time I turn on Hallmark, I think she's in a Hallmark movie, especially around the Christmas season. So,
Yes, yes. For me, Lindsay Lohan, I think, was the biggest star because I hadn't really seen Lacey Chabert. To me, she was the voice of Eliza Thornberry on The Wild Thornberries, which was a
oh, okay,
cartoon.
I didn't see. Okay, so
Um,
I wouldn't have, I
which you
wouldn't have
could
caught
she did a
that.
lot of voice work, actually, which you can tell because she has that, like, high voice, so it lends itself to voiceover work. But
Yeah.
Lindsay Lohan had been in Parent Trap, Freaky
Oh, I forgot
Friday,
about that. Yeah.
Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen, and she's, like, if you watch the Parent Trap of Lindsay Lohan does hold up. Also, I've watched it recently.
Okay.
She has a good job. She has, she's the British one and the American one,
Mhm.
Hallie and Annie.
Yeah. Shades of Haley Mills.
There you go. Exactly. So I think, like, she was obviously very big, but then this is sort of where, like, the partying kind of hit a zenith for her. um
You think the drinking scenes were didn't have to be rehearsed?
yeah, well, she was doing a lot more than drinking in real life,
Oh, okay.
but yeah, Lacey Chabert had been, like, for me, she'd been in Not Another Teen Movie also with Chris
Mm.
Evans. Um she was a voice in An American Tale. She did a lot of voices. She was I could see that she was in Lost in Space. I had not seen that movie
Oh, okay.
at this time, but she was, I think, for me, like, I knew vaguely of Party of Five. She was also on All My Children. Oh, it was in the early 90s. Yeah, she played Erica
Okay.
Kane's daughter.
Oh, okay. All right.
But yeah, I think her biggest role up to this point was probably Party of Five, because that was on TV
Okay.
for like 6 years. But I think those two, besides the adults, were probably the biggest stars. Because, like, this is Rachel McAdams had only been in, like, one other movie
I was going to say, because
before this.
she was very young, and so was Amanda. You could
Yeah,
see,
I think those two kind of really shot up after
after
this.
this, because Amanda's really done well. Both her and Rachel have done more dramatic roles than
Yeah.
stuff like this. So,
Yes. So, just for people who don't know, for a few, Rachel McAdams plays Regina George. It's always so weird to me to see her in that blonde wig because I'm like,
oh, I
she
know
doesn't
I know
it
it
doesn't
doesn't
look like her.
fit. No, it doesn't. I mean, you can tell it's her because of it's her, but yeah, the hair look completely different.
Yeah.
Plus, to me, she looks so young.
Yes, and just like her delivery of lines is
Oh,
so good in this
she's
movie.
spot on because it's not anything else. It's not like anything else that I think she's done since then.
Yeah. So just for a few, for if people haven't seen them, the only movie she was in before this was called The Hot Chick, which is another movie I liked as a teenager. It's where
Is that the
this
one?
I think it's her, she gets cursed and she turns into like Rob Schneider.
Oh, I've seen.
And like Anna Faris is in it.
Yes,
Yeah.
I was going to say, is Rob Schneider in that movie? And it's about a
Yes.
curse.
It's me.
Yeah, that is funny.
Um, Rachel McAdams, I think, also very famous for The Notebook,
Oh,
perhaps most famously.
by the way, rest in peace, Jenna Rollins.
Yes, rest in peace, Jenna Rollins.
Great actor.
Yes. Rachel McAdams also in Wedding Crashers, About Time. She was Oscar nominated for Spotlight. She was in the movie Red Eye, one I loved also in high school. The
Oh,
Family
okay.
Stone. We'll be watching that one around Christmas for
Oh, that's
sure.
a good. I've seen that movie.
I
That's a
love
good
that
movie.
movie.
Do you?
Love it.
Okay, that is a good movie,
Yeah.
and that's a good time to watch that movie. That's a
Yeah. And then we were talking about Amanda Seyfried. She plays Karen. She is in the Mamma Mia movies. She was in Les Mis that came out like however
mm-hmm.
long ago with Hugh Jackman. She played Cosette. She was in the movie Jennifer's Body with
I
Megan
know.
Fox.
Yeah.
She was recently in the TV series The Dropout, where she played Elizabeth
Sorry.
Holmes. She played Elizabeth Holmes in The
Oh,
Dropout,
okay.
which is that
Oh,
she's the person who made the company that was going to like test your blood with one drop, but she was like
oh.
scamming.
Yeah.
It's a really good miniseries.
I haven't
And
seen
also
that.
because the woman is like cuckoo and she started talking in like a fake deep voice, and Amanda Seyfried does the voice very well.
Okay.
So if you haven't watched The Dropout, if you and you have Hulu, check it out
All
because
right.
Amanda Seyfried's really good in it. But yeah, she's in Red Riding Hood. Lizzie Kaplan plays Janice. She has been in a lot of TV, I think. Mostly she was in the movie Cloverfield, but she's been in
Oh, that's where I know her from.
she was in Freaks and Geeks, she was in the show Party Down, in the show Masters of Sex. She was recently in the show Fleischman is in Trouble, and they made a TV show version of Fatal Attraction, and she was the Glenn Close role in that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Um Then, as I mentioned, Anna Gasteyer and Neil Flynn are the parents. Tim Meadows, Amy Poehler, Tina Fey. So a lot of SNL alums, mostly. Neil Flynn, as we mentioned, from Scrubs and The Middle. The other guys in it, not as big, but Daniel Franzese plays Damien. He was in the movie Bully and Party Monster. He was in the show and movie Looking. And he was also a contestant on RuPaul's Secret Celebrity Drag Race.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, he did drag and did a great job.
Okay.
Jonathan Bennett plays Aaron. He was also in the show Veronica Mars. He's hosted shows on Food Network. And he's
That's
currently,
where I know him from.
yes,
Yeah.
he's most recently in Spamalot on Broadway.
Is he really? Okay.
Yes. But yeah, that's the cast.
Very promising cast, and like I said, we have the luxury of looking at the movie 20 years ago, from 20 years
Mhm.
ago, and you can see, like you said, for the majority of them, all have very successful, very busy careers, and
Yeah.
have gone on to do bigger and better things. And some maybe not so much, but as you said, maybe Lindsay is on. How did you phrase it? Her
The Lohanaissance.
Lohanaissance. So that's going to be a thing, I think.
I'm
So
making it. I'm making it a thing.
okay.
I'm gonna make fetch happen.
Okay. So well, and I hope things do work out for her. She was a good actor, and I'm sure she still is. So
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
um,
She's like married. She has a kid now. So
yeah, Jamie
maybe
Lee
she's like
Curtis said recently that she was a great mom. So
she's coming back. She's got Jamie Lee Curtis in her corner. She's getting back
yeah,
in Freaky Friday. Like she's still, I'm sure it's still there, right? She still
yeah.
has it. So that's great. I think this movie is just one that like I think like permeates culture in a way that is like so much, right? Like so many of these things, like I said,
Mm-hmm.
um, people using lines like Regina George saying, "Why are you so obsessed with me?" like comes up in so many contexts, right? It inspired like a Mariah Carey song.
Oh,
Why you
okay.
so obsessed with me?
See, I didn't know
And
that.
she says
So,
that at the beginning, and then like I said, like Ariana Grande is using stuff from this movie in
and
music videos. It spawned a musical. It's just like you have governmental figures like quoting this movie on their social media. It just I think so much of this just the lines are so memorable that they just became part of culture in such a strong way. And I think, you know, it happens with some movies and they just hit in that way
Mhm.
and just like permeate language
Agreed.
um, in a way that not all of them do. And I think that Mean Girls just is one of them. And like I said, I think that like some of these lines, people, even if you haven't seen this movie, like you've heard people quote this.
I've heard some of the things that you said, and I had no idea that they came from this movie, though. I'll be honest
Right,
with you.
right.
So, yeah,
It just becomes such like a thing, right? Like
yeah.
that's so fetch. Stop trying to make fetch happen. Gruel. We should all just stab Caesar. Damien is too gay to function. I'm a pusher. There's a 30% chance it's already raining. I have a big old lesbian crush on you. I have ESPN or something. I'm a mouse, duh. Like these were just things that like before I started watching the movie, I made a list of like just quotes that off the top of my head I can remember. And
And
there's so
and
many that
and you
just
still use, you said, correct?
yeah.
And your friends. So,
Yes. Yes. And there's so many. Like some I missed, like None for Gretchen Wieners. Also that one. You can't just ask people why they're white, Karen. I forgot about that line. That line's so funny at the beginning when they meet Katie. But no, and she's like, if you're from Africa, why are you white? Karen, you can't just ask people why they're white. My father, the inventor of toaster strudel.
Mm.
If you have sex, you'll get pregnant and die. Not like a regular mom, you're a cool mom. Yeah, so many of these things, like, they just exist in my brain. And like, I know they're all from this movie. So they're even
Uh,
popping up in my head at the Coliseum in Rome.
which I think is funny that that well well I guess the movie was maybe on your mind, but you said you use these lines in everyday life, so it's not
Hmm.
just that you were thinking about us reviewing the movie.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I
Yeah.
just heard our tour guide talking about Julius Caesar. Just
And then
pulled that to
immediately,
the front of my mind.
I was going to say, it immediately you
We
went
should all
there.
just stab Caesar. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So,
That's why I was like surprised everybody else didn't know it. I was like,
well,
there were
maybe
teenage girls in my group. I'm like, you guys haven't watched Mean Girls? If you haven't watched Mean Girls, you should watch it.
agreed. It is. It is. Like I said, it's very funny. The lines are all well delivered. It's not cliche at all.
Yeah.
I could see where people say, I mean, there are some things, it's like you said, the house party. There are some things that, you see in a lot of teenage movies and so on.
Hmm.
But I felt like this was a different take on that, and it was, and maybe this was one of some of the movies around at the same time that sort of had that, the theme of the cliques and so on and so forth. But all teenage movies have that. You look,
Yeah.
The Breakfast Club,
Hmm.
you look at any of those,
Yeah.
St. Elmo's Fire, about, and not high school, but young people, and then the
Hmm.
group they run with. So,
Yeah,
but
for
I thought this
sure.
one was well done. It had a great cast.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I think it's super well written. I think some of that came from it is partly based on this book called Queen Bees and Wannabes, which I thought I only just now learned is not. I thought it was like a novel. It's like it's a nonfiction book about like that
Oh,
someone wrote to be
really?
like helping your daughter navigate the cliques of high school or whatever.
No
So
kidding.
it
So
was
it's like a
Tina Fey like did research um,
good for, well,
to
Tina Fey's
write
a
this.
smart person anyway. So,
So yeah, I think getting at like the social dynamics, I think is probably what she was looking at. But I think that it is very successful in illustrating that, even if like, like I said, I don't relate to all of it, but I think it all does still feel it doesn't feel unreal.
yeah.
That you like, someone's mean to you and you want them to like you, right? Or that like people have low self-esteem, so they deal with that by being mean to other people or whatever, right?
it's not like it's an alien culture to you. So
Exactly.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't exactly my experience, but like,
There were parts of it that you could draw from. And
mhm,
even like, yeah, even like, 50 years ago. Yes, I'm that old, people. 50 years ago when I was in high school,
mhm,
you still had those things, where you like you said, you worry about navigating relationships and so on and so forth. And then, do you like this person or do you have a crush on this person? It's like, and then
mhm.
those things kind of, you try to work those things out, and it is difficult. It's
Yeah.
difficult to sort out your feelings and so on and so forth. And then,
Yeah.
trying to fit in,
Mhm.
that was always a big thing for me anyway, in high school. Was
Yeah.
where do you fit in? Where's your role? Where's your
Right. Right.
so yeah,
Yeah.
but it's got messages. It does have a feel good message, and then I think there's some lessons to be learned, but it doesn't beat you over the head with it. So
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it also still ends with like a little cheekiness, right? Of like
oh God,
when they
yeah.
like threaten to hit those girls with another
Yeah,
bus.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like, you know, that. By the way, yeah, if you haven't seen the movie, that's a great scene where poor Rachel gets hit by where Rachel gets hit by the bus. Oh my God.
Yes. Right when she's about to like cuss out Lindsay
Yeah,
Lohan.
exactly. Like she's getting,
It's
you think there's
basically
going to be
like the
this
world's
big,
biggest bleep.
it's going to be the big cathartic moment or whatever, between her and Katie, and it's like,
Yeah.
it's like,
She's really letting her have it. And just as
yeah,
she's reaching the top of the moment.
exactly.
There
So
it goes. But yeah, I think that it's the writing is good. It's not a long movie, right? It's only like 90 minutes, but
yeah,
it's like packed with
it it
funny
it
lines.
doesn't drag. It doesn't. There's no slow belt parts, or yeah. There's no, there's like, oh my God, or how long is this scene going to last, or whatever it is. It just it flows very well, and it's
Yeah.
very
I wonder if
snappy.
that comes from like writing on SNL, right? Because you only have like a couple minutes
It
to
very
tell a
well
whole
could be.
story.
Yeah,
So you have to necessarily be kind of like tight in the writing.
the
I wonder
pace
if
is
that's
very well. It's very brisk. There's no letdown. There's no lagging, to
yeah.
me.
And
So
I think there's like such a combination of like funny lines, like sight gags, like funny things to look at. And like, just when you see like Regina George's little sister looking at the Girls Gone Wild commercial and like her dad like crying
oh, I
or
know
like,
when she's like getting dressed or whatever. Yeah, and or yeah, the milkshake video. It's like,
yeah,
I was like,
just
I
it's just
remember
like a
that.
little
That was a
second.
raunchy video, back when it was playing, and they're showing us what was she, like 8 or 9 years old or whatever
Yeah.
it is, dancing to this video. Anyway,
Just like, hey,
so
Kylie.
yeah, yeah, I was like, hey, nobody's watching Kylie. Kylie's
Yeah.
just, turned on whatever, watching MTV or whatever. So,
But yeah, I
but
think that it's just like packed with all this kind of
hmm
stuff. And I think that also is what makes it fun to like watch more than once, right? I've watched it a ton of times and I
I
can
can see
enjoy it
where
every time because there's always
I
something
think
new to like look at or like pay attention to or like whatever.
I could see that. I could see where, there's always things going on where you think, oh, I didn't catch that the first time around. So
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah, yeah, for anyone of my generation or one that thought, oh, this is just a teen girls movie or whatever, it's not. It really isn't. It's enjoyable. It's funny. I think actually, as an older person, I appreciated more of the wit and the writing and the dialogue
Hmm.
and so on. Some of the things might have not, you as a 13-year-old, that you may not have gotten then, but now you
Hmm.
see,
Yeah.
so, different things. So
Yeah, for sure.
so
Totally. So
totally. So
for sure. Very
you do
fetch.
you do that well. Yeah, very fetch. And now we can all wait for the what did you
Lohanaissance.
Lohanaissance. I'm sorry, I'll get that.
Yes.
So Lohanaissance
It's
of
beginning.
Lindsay.
She did her little Netflix movie, but now she's coming back with Freaky Friday 2 or
Two.
Freakier Friday. I don't know.
Any last thoughts or of the movie, or to share with our audience?
It's a movie that is, again, I think like meaningful to me because I think one, it's just like meaningful culturally, period, but also just like being a teenage girl on the precipice of going to high school,
Hmm.
watching this movie about high school. It was just like, oh, this is it. This is everything. This is life, right? This is what we should do and say and how we should talk and all this stuff. And I think like it didn't occur to us to like actually like be mean or anything, but we were like, oh, it would be fun if we like had ideas of what to wear every
Uh-huh.
day of the week.
Or had rules
Um,
about what,
yeah,
yeah, about how to behave or
if we
what to.
all wore pink on Wednesdays, wouldn't that be fun and silly? But
I
we would
might.
not. It would never occur to us to like feel like you can't sit with us in a real way, just as a joke. But yeah, I think it's just like it's one of those movies that I think like you've talked about, right? Like it just hits you at that moment, and it's like oh, it just feels like it kind of captures an experience and feels relatable, but also like kind of heightened and also like aspirational and also hilarious. And yeah, it just kind of captures you in a way that it still feels that way whenever I watch it. So
That's great. That I think that's a true mark of a well-made movie, that it leaves you with, even 20 years down the road, that you still get that feeling whenever you watch it.
yeah,
So, and
exactly.
I can see that from this, that it is a well done, it's a well-made movie. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I truly wonder like if I would have the same kind of like sensibilities for movies and comedy and like language now without this movie. Like I think it's that impactful
okay,
in terms
that's
of
an
just like
interesting point.
how we talk and watch things and stuff like that. So it's interesting to consider.
Okay, that's
But
well, yeah, that it may have shaped the way you perceive other movies as they came along later on. Then, so
mhm, mhm.
okay,
Yeah, I think so. Anyways,
well,
uh
great choice, great selection. Thank you for letting me see another movie that I hadn't seen. So add to my video library.
excellent, excellent. I'm glad that you enjoyed it. I
I
always
did.
appreciate you being open-minded to my like movies I loved when I was 13
Good movies are
playlist.
good movies. So that's regardless, I think so. And
True.
then, and if it like I said, if they hold a special meaning to you, then even more so, it's at least worth watching. So
Well, I appreciate it. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in again. Please follow us wherever you get your podcasts. You can leave us a comment or review, especially if it's nice. You can follow us on Instagram at Some of Our Parts Pod. You can see all the other movies that we've talked about, and we like to post little clues and stuff for what's to come. So check that out. And until next time, bye bye.
take care.